Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in this video, we're talking about design mistakes. We're talking about things we can improve in our homes to make them look gorgeous. And to do that, I'm gonna show you some beautiful spaces and point out the things I love and what you should be looking for in your home. Now, this first space is a masterclass in curation. We love a curated space. We like a mix of new and old and vintage, and I wanna see a mix of different styles and elements together. This space has got it all. Some of the issues I'm taking with the space, or what I see that I would change, is really this whole chair, table, record player setup because it feels bulky. This is a smaller room. So those are some of the things I would look to change. Maybe get a sofa or a settee, some sort of really open and thin lined seating piece, and maybe you do side tables on that. Works great. I want to point out to you that this room doesn't have a ton of architectural features. This could be a room anywhere. It could be in, a rental condo. It could be in Italy or Spain or in some amazing house in Portugal. Like, it literally could be anywhere in the world because it's just a white box. This could even be a rental, but it's decorated really beautifully through the use of furnishings. We're not talking about insane colors or architectural features. You don't have to have all of that to have a really beautiful and curated space. Even take a look at the window. We can see it's a little bit of an older window and it's actually off-centered. So you also can work beautifully with any sort of space in your home, even if it's not 100% necessarily the most ideal, perfect architectural space. Now, some of the really great features or things I'm loving in this space are the use of color and texture. I'm loving these really warm, rich, kind of camel-toned drapes mixed with a very similar tone to what looks to be like a daybed to me. We've got this brown shag rug. Not a fan of shag. I would have done something that's a little bit of a lower pile wool, but this color, this brown tone, really creates a lot of warmth in this space, and I'm loving the richness of it. Something I'm also noticing here is that we've got 3 pieces on the table that are really standing out to me. We've got this chrome ball thing. I don't really know what this is. It clearly looks mid-century and vintage. I'm loving the mirrored reflective surface we have on this, juxtaposed with this light fixture that is actually angled and pointed towards the drapes. It's creating a really warm glow and a moodiness to this space. Even though it's daylight, we're still getting a lot of that warmth, I think is beautiful. And because it's got a head that like modulates, or you can angle it, we can have a beautiful light that's not direct. It's very warm and welcoming, comfortable and cozy. And I'm loving the materials. It looks to me like this is either aged brass or it's maybe coated in like powder coated in a off-white creamy tone. I think that plays really nicely. We have a mix of different things happening, and then I'm loving this vintage little horse piece here because you've got so much chrome and glamour happening with this little ball thing here in the corner. You've got this really rustic textural moment with this light fixture, and then to have an antique piece there that has so much texture to it really just plays beautifully and gives that feel of it being a curated space. There are 2 last things I want to point out to you. One is that this unit here, it looks to me like a day bed, some sort of table and a bench. It looks to me like one piece of furniture. It's pushed a little bit too close to the drapes. You can see they're getting pinched there. What I would do is actually get like a 2x4 or a piece of wood and just slip it right under the drapes. That way this is pushed off of the wall, but it doesn't slide or move. And then you get that clean line there. And you can actually use the drapes because right now they're pinched and you're not going to be able to actually close them. And why have the drapes there if they're not going to be functional also? So I would do that. And this large piece of artwork I think is great. It's hung a little bit low for me. So the lesson to take away from this space really is that it doesn't matter architecturally or any space in your home where it is. You can turn a normal white box of a room with an off-centered window into something that really has great texture and warmth and character, even if this is a rental. You didn't have to make any customizations or changes here. It's all about accessories, decor, and bringing in beautiful elements to really create that warmth and make a space look beautiful but also welcoming. Let's have a look at this next space. I like it. It's really good. It's kind of at the opposite end of the last space. We had so much vintage happening there, and this all looks very new. What I'm really liking here is the use of color, and I'm also liking that we have a central focal point. We actually have 2 of them kind of competing with each other, but not really. We have this fireplace here and we have this great window. I'm loving the wood tones we have happening happening on the floor and the furniture. The floor has variation in it. You've got some lighter tones, you've got some darker tones, and for the furniture, we're pulling from the darker tones. That creates a lot of connection between the two, even though we're mixing wood tones. You just want to look to have that same base or the same tones within each other to really create something that feels connected. I like the size of the rug. I think it's great. It's going under the sofa, under the chairs, about halfway, but I'm really liking the tones of it because we've got these gray blue tones happening. We have some of those happening on the accent pillows, and then they're referencing back to the fireplace, and that creates a really great statement focal point. You know, this fireplace, it's got this blue-gray tone to it, so we're really focusing in and we see that, but then you've got the great nature and greenery outside of this window, and you really get a good sense of nature and balance in this space. I'm liking that. What I don't like is the tone of wood on the mantle. I actually think that mantle should be a lot bigger. It should extend out further because right now it's like, it doesn't quite go as far as the opening for the fireplace and it looks a little small. I don't really love that. The artwork above it, the tones are nice. It looks a little generic, a little bit store-bought. So for me, I might, look to have something else made or done that doesn't quite have that feeling to me, but it does look good in terms of the color scheme. But I like the references we're making in terms of color. That's the lesson to take away from this space. Referencing color creates cohesivity. So even if you have a space that maybe doesn't have a ton of personality, doesn't have a ton of vintage, maybe you can't go out and get those things and you're buying everything new. Focus on creating connection using color, cohesivity, not only in one space, but throughout your entire home to really make a space that feels sumptuous, luxurious, beautiful, but relaxing. Now I know that you are liking what you are seeing. You made it to the midpoint of the video, so be sure if you haven't already, you hit that subscribe button, join us, become a part of the LeChic family, and give this video a like. This space here is one that I love. I think it's great, even though there's not a lot happening here. And the reason I like it is because there isn't. This is minimalism done in an interesting way. Like I always say, minimalism is not a specific style, it's a lifestyle, it's a mentality. And this definitely fits that box because there's not a ton of extra unnecessary stuff happening, but we've got a lot of great features. Now, one of the things immediately you all know I'm gonna point out, I don't like this floral arrangement, this pampas grass on the table. I don't think it makes sense. I don't like a big, tall floral element in the middle of a space. So for me, it's like we need to get a pedestal in the back in that corner and put that on it and you're good to go. It needs to be against a wall. We need a very low arrangement on this table. Just like a big concrete or cement bowl in this table would actually be really beautiful. What I'm liking about this space, I love the reference point of the wood flooring to the table. They have a very, very similar tone. So there is a lot of relationship there and it's not an overwhelming contrast. I'm loving the vintage quality, the almost rustic feeling of this table. I'm loving the detail and accent in the base, but it's just a simple round table, which is great. We've got a rug under that. It's hard to see it. It looks like some sort of natural woven fiber rug, seagrass it looks like to me. So I think that's great. The dining chairs. These are great. They're modern styled. I love the lower backs on them. They're simple. They're black, so we're getting a little bit of that contrast, but it feels very natural. And this is something I'd like to point out to everyone watching. If you're looking to create a dining space that feels modern, right now what is happening are chairs that are even with the top of the table. Like the back of the chair is the same height as the top of the table. That feels very modern, very chic. It feels a little bit lower, making the space feel a lot more open. This space has it, and it's really working well. Now, something else I'm noticing, this space has no window treatments. And that is for a very specific reason, being that you really can't put a drape on this window. Because of the molding on it, it projects out of the wall quite a bit at the top. We can't put a curtain rod above it because you wouldn't be able to close the drapes. And putting a curtain rod below it would just not look good or be appropriate. So here, we don't have any. And that works if you don't have a ton of light coming into that space from a specific direction. If you were going to do window treatments in this space, I would say you either do them in black or you do them in this kind of natural woven fiber material that the rug is made out of and do a blind inset into the window frame. And that would be simple enough. It wouldn't be anything over the top, overwhelming, or you could do white to keep that really crisp look that the space has now and that minimal kind of modern styling. You know, you look outside of the windows, we've got beautiful greenery. We're allowing that to come in. That's a real accent point in the space. So it doesn't look like there's a house out there with windows peeking in on you. Plus, I mean, like, people can watch me eat. I do everything beautifully, even eat. So it doesn't really matter to me, but you may not want that. So the lesson to take away from this space is that sometimes less is more, and the less in this space would be this floral arrangement. Just get rid of it. Even just keep the table empty, give me a low bowl, and it would have been so much better than it is now, because right now that's the most distracting element. You walk in, it's like a wall. And maybe that works in a hotel lobby or something, but this isn't that. This is a dining room. So we want to be able to see the people across from us at the table. Less is more. This space has a lot less, but that one element that's a little bit more is a little bit too much. This next room has got so many great features happening and things going on. I love it. I think we've got a lot happening here that is so good. One of the things I'm really loving are the tones, the use of color in the space. These really wonderful window treatments, they're giving us light filtration, a little bit of privacy, but they're not like blackouts. And I like the woven material, the natural texture is really wonderful. And it's referencing back to a lot of the other elements. Similar wood tones on the floor. I'm loving the leather chairs we have here in the corner. We've got this floor lamp on the other side of the room. That reference is really, really working for us. And I like to see a color or a wood tone and element used in 3 different places and 3 different ways. And here we have it. I also really love this leather sofa. It's got quite a bit of distressing to it, which looks to me like the overall design. This is something that's really good for families or if you've got pets or animals, because you're not going to see any sort of damage that happens on this because it's already got that natural look to it. The tone of this leather, also really great, references back to the wood floor, and that creates a lot of warmth, and that feels really welcoming, inviting, and I like that. This other sofa here, it looks to me like it's got a slip cover on it. That's another great feature to have in a space for durability. Whether you have pets on here, you have, kids eating a little snack and getting crumbs or sticky hands on it, it's easy to take that off and wash it, giving you a space that looks and feels great, is durable and easy to clean. The same thing goes for leather. You can wipe it down very easily and that piece is like renewed, and I think that's wonderful. Let's look at another view here and you can see the rug. It's got a lot of the tones we have happening here. It's got some of these brown tones that are referencing back to the chairs, to the sofa. It's got some blue tones, which are referencing back to the pillows on the sofa, even the artwork above the other one. I make that art piece a little bit bigger, and I probably wouldn't have done that glass on it directly across from windows because it's very reflective. We're also getting a reference in the rug to the pillows on the sofa. Now the coffee table, to me, a little bit small. I actually would have got 2 of the same one. If you like this wood tone, personally, it's not for me. I'd like to see like a big stone table or something like that, but this is it works if you like it. And I would have got a second one and just put the 2 of them together because it looks like it's about half the size it should be. All of that's nice. But what I'm also really liking is the tones in this rug are referencing back to the cabinetry in the kitchen that you can see across from this. It creates a lot of good connection there. Even I'm noticing the kitchen has brass pendant lights, brass hardware on the cabinetry, and a brass faucet, referencing back to the brass picture frame in this picture above the sofa here. So I think this is really good. I'm really, really liking it very much. I think we've got so many great features happening here. The fireplace looks good. The TV is very big above the fireplace, but this sofa is pulled far enough back that I do feel you could actually see it quite comfortably. So if you like that, I think it works. This isn't a formal living room, so that's okay to have a TV in there. I think that's great. What you could do also, if you wanted the TV to be a little lower, is maybe take out one of the floating shelves and put it there. But we've got a couple of problems that I want to point out to you. One, the overall accessorizing and styling looks a little store-bought. It looks very kind of generic. We have a word sign happening here. We've got some fake plants happening here. We've got some real plants too, which is great. And I'm not mad at a fake plant. I'm not mad at a real plant. So you can do a mix of them, but it does to me look a little bit like hobby store, like we bought it at the home decor section of the grocery store. So I would look at bringing some vintage pieces in or just some really unique stuff. Like above the fireplace, you've got this piece of driftwood, it looks like. That's interesting. That's cool. I want to see more stuff along the lines of that. And the other thing I really need to point out to you is access. We've got 2 sofas and 2 chairs here, and not very much room to get into this living room. So I mean, look at these spaces between the sofas here, not a lot of room. You're talking about maybe a foot, maybe a foot and a half to squeeze between the two of them. That for me is difficult. It's a little bit, it's hard to get in here, and right, you're gonna have to kind of scoot around and get in, and you know, it's just not ideal. So in a living room like this, the most ideal piece of furniture to have really is a sectional, because you can have that off-centered and create more walkable space on one side of it to access the living room, and that I feel like would make entering the space a little bit easier. Now, I think all of the furniture is beautiful, and this may be kind of like, we had this furniture, we want to use it, and this is the only layout that works. I think that's fine, but getting into the space is a little bit of a problem for me. So I would look at what you could do, maybe pulling the sofa back a little bit, getting another size rug that's a little bit bigger that you could then bring the sofa back and would feel natural with. Maybe that works out better. It's just that flow into the space. And that's the lesson to take away from here. You can have a beautiful space. It could be decorated beautifully. You could spend a ton of money on getting the best quality pieces for that space, but you need to be able to access it and get into it, because otherwise it's a little uncomfortable entering the space, and you don't necessarily want that. Now that we've talked about some of those interior design mistakes that are easy to avoid, be sure you check out this video right here to find out all about some overpriced design trends that you do not need in your life, and I will see you over there.